Well, we are continuing with our October series, Your Abundant Life. And today we're going to talk about prosperity in our spiritual life as one of the 5 pillars, one of the 5 areas of our life that we talk about around here. We started off the month talking about prosperity or abundance in our career and our creativity. And then we went into health and talked about what that looked like to have abundant health and prosperity of attitude in our health. And last week we talked about relationships. We talked about love and what prosperity in that looked like. But what do you think it means to have a prosperous spiritual life? It's kind of an interesting thought that I played with this week as I began to delve into this topic. It's like, what was I thinking? What am I going to talk about there, right? But as I continue to explore it and deepen and vision around it, I begin to realize that really a prosperous attitude, a prosperous spiritual life and our spiritual practices and in our spiritual experiences and that relationship with the divine, that whole idea is really that platform that these other pillars of our life stand upon. It's really about this union of the infinite, our union with the infinite. I don't even like to say relationship because relationship implies 2, doesn't it? If we have a relationship with something, it's a relationship with something either inside or outside of ourselves. But when we think of this idea of union with the divine, there's a little different feeling of that, isn't it? A little different feeling in that. So if prosperity is truly the desire for wholeness and balance in our life and in our affairs, I think we can realize that these first 3 talks that we had with health and relationship and career really do feed into this idea that when all is right in our spiritual life, everything else sort of flows, doesn't it? Everything else sort of flows. And without this union, it's possible that we might appear successful and happy, but maybe we don't feel that way. Maybe we feel this emptiness. In 1999, that was me. 1999, I had a successful business career. That was me. Yeah, 1999. I had this successful career. I was prosperous in my affairs. I was healthy. I had a loving relationship and loving friends. And yet, there was an emptiness. There was an emptiness. It was almost like, you ever left the house and go, God, I forgot something. I just know I forgot something. You can't figure out what it was, and you just have that feeling. That's kind of how I felt, but it was an emptiness inside of me. There was almost a hole in my chest. Something wasn't there. And I began sharing these feelings with a friend of mine, and she began to share with me her experience of this really cool church that she went to. And I had suspicion that perhaps this missing within me was in my spirituality. It was in church because I had such a deep background growing up in that. But I also knew that the churches that I had attended did not resonate with some of the things that I believed. And I still found things like hypocrisy and judgment and things like that just didn't appeal to me to attend. So when she was talking about this cool church, I said, sure, I'd like to check that out with you sometime. So a few weeks went by and she called me on a Saturday and she goes, what you doing tomorrow? And I said, no plans. She said, we're going to church. So we did. And what I heard that day and pretty much every Sunday thereafter had filled that space within me. I reunioned with the divine. I rebuilt the relationship, my relationship with the divine in that greater exploration and connectivity of that. I uncovered my own divine nature, discovering the spiritual being that I am, and that you are, of course, as well. And Ernest Holmes, the author of The Science of Mind, the book that we teach from here, and also the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, he says we can no more do without spiritual nourishment than we can without food and water. And I had been hungry for a long time. I had been hungry for a long time. Holmes tells us in The Science of Mind that starvation takes place on more than one plane. He says more people are starved spiritually and intellectually than physically. Think about that. More people on our planet are starved spiritually and intellectually than physically. That's a big statement. Our whole being needs to be fed. To attempt to desert any one of the three levels of our being, our spiritual, physical, or intellectual, at the cost of the others is abnormal. And I think we all know people that do that. The gurus that sit on the mountaintop that have no real physical activity in their life. I'm guilty of that. I spend a lot more time on my spiritual life than I do in the gym. I'm guilty of that. I know. And the intellectual experience, it's easy to get caught up, particularly in the science of mind, right? And the intellectualization, is that a word? Of it. It's easy. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in that. It's juicy. It's heady stuff. Yeah. So we've been talking all month about how we can apply this law of attraction that we hear so much about for greater abundance in our life. And I would suggest that if our spiritual life is rich and prosperous, again, all areas of our life then are rich and prosperous. It all comes out of this one source, this one union. And when we can be in that union with the divine, in that oneness, that's when we begin to really feel and experience our own oneness with all else. It blossoms out of that. It begins to blossom out of that. We're in that flow then of the wisdom of the universe. I know from our visioning class that many people have shared experiences from that class that, I'm not visioning all the time, but I'm more aware of my intuition being more activated. I'm more aware of wisdom flowing through me. I'm more aware of serendipitous interactions and things that are happening. And it's basically visioning is opening ourselves up to be in tune to the divine flow. And I'm hearing that being expressed through some of our attendees, that's been their experience of this class. So where we sometimes, I think, get stuck or off track in the science of mind is in the application of its principles. We get a little off track or stuck. We get hung up in the application. We get hung up in the doingness or maybe even that headiness of it, right? The law that we talk about all the time, the law, that middle part of our teaching symbol, the law, is the operating system of God. We've all heard of iOS. This is GOS. It's the God's operating system, okay? So the laws are the operating system of the universe. It's the rules of the game, as it were. Now, it's football season. I know we got a few football fans in the room that may understand the game. So I'll use a football analogy. When we first start learning to play football, if it's in Pee-wee football or you're just watching and learning as a spectator, you need to understand the rules and how it's played, right? You need to understand what it means when you catch the ball. You need to understand which way to run when you do catch the ball. You need to understand what it means if you drop the ball, or you throw the ball to a person in the other colored jersey, or you're running down the field and you step on that white line that runs on the outside. What are those guys doing when they flip those little numbers around on the sides of the field, right? All of those things are the rules of the game we need to know. And then we begin to embody how we work together with our team. And this thing called love begins to come forth, and creativity as we cohese. If you've got a bunch of people that come together who know all the rules, but they aren't coordinating and playing together, you're not going to have a very good team, are you? You got to have that idea of team and coming together and expressing that love, and not always like basketball, not always hanging on to the ball. You have to share it around a little bit, pay it forward, right? Circulate it. So that is a good example of learning the rules and then bringing forth the creativity by using those rules. Ernest Holmes says that love points the way and law makes the way possible. Now, when I first heard that years ago, I didn't really understand it. It's like, what is he trying to say there? Love points the way, Law makes the way possible. But as I've continued my studies and to deepen into this, it really tells me that the law is the how. The law is the way that things are implemented. It is the operating system. And then it's what is the law of attraction? What is the law of gravity? Have you seen those videos on, I guess on Facebook, where the guy, he feeds the cat something, the cat wags its tail, it knocks something over, and then something else moves, and something else moves, and the balls roll down, and it just this whole room full of things that are triggered off of one movement. That's all a play of gravity, isn't it? Or if you touch one domino and they all fall, that's a play of gravity, right? We know how it works, so we can make it do things like that for us, or make things do things within the operation of the law of gravity. The same is true of the universal laws of spirit. They work the same for everyone, always. The same is true. So we have to understand the application before we can begin to creatively use it. And one example, have many realtors in the room, and anybody that's ever gotten a professional license. You have to study a lot to learn that stuff, right? Study the bricks and the sticks and all that stuff about it and the laws. And then you step into licensing, you step into your career. Then what happens? You know the rules, you know the laws, you know the processes, but until you step into your career and figure out how you're going to now apply them to your particular real estate business or whatever professional license you may have, it's not this. I mean, you've got rules and then you've got application. And that's the same with our spiritual laws. How are we going to creatively use them? And the science of mind, I think historically, there's been this conversation for a long time about Ernest Holmes talked so much about the law, and in his later life, he said he really wished he'd talked more about love. Well, there's another school of thought that says he talked about love all the time. And if you read The Science of Mind and you delve into it more deeply, you begin to discover it's all about love. And the way he was teaching was just trying to help us to understand how to apply these universal laws, again, through the love. Love is God. We are of God. We are an expression of it. That's what we've come here to be and do. And yet we've packed all this love that we are in this rent-a-body, earth suit, whatever you want to call this thing. We packed it all in there, and then we start expressing it when we first come on board, and we're out and we're just expressing love, love, love. Babies are love, are they not? Yeah. And then we begin to learn, ooh, when I do that, I have to pull back, and I have to pull back. And then we begin to build our walls. And then we begin to not express that love that we are and that we've come here to be. So we restrict that love. So this idea is all about figuring out how to be that love again, how to express that love again. So love is the what and the why. The divine is always coming through us as those ideas, the what and the why. Spirit is always giving to its creation, to us. We always have those divine ideas coming. Love is the what. Love is our why. Why is that important? Why is it important for Frankie to go to Michigan? Her heart is calling her. It's important for her. Why is it important for somebody else to do something else? Why is there a call to ministry? There's all these different things that are happening to each one of us in this room that are the individualized expression of Spirit through us as the love of Spirit expressing. It's the why. It's the what. The how is how do we apply these universal laws and truths that we have to that to see it then come forth in form, from thought to form. That's the reason for the law. Now, if we go back to Ernest Holmes, and when he started this teaching, he was, I guess, right at the turn of the century, when he was first beginning to formulate his ideas. He was a great assimilator. As Dr. Ken said last night, he stole eloquently from every faith tradition out there and put it all together and called it the philosophy of the science of mind. But he took the best of the best of the best. And he was putting all that together at a time in America where the metaphysical community and where transcendentalism was all brand new. at the turn of the century, the early 1900s. The Parliament of World Religions, the first one that ever came to America, was in 1890-something that I just forgot. Sorry, I'm jumping around this morning. Anyway, 1890 whatever. And it was the first time Americans had really experienced the Hindu religion, the Eastern traditions. So you can imagine many of the conservative faith traditions that were in America at that time hearing this teaching and the confusion perhaps and some resistance perhaps. So Ernest Holmes was a great assimilator of this because he was able to take his upbringing, his background, and study in the Bible and the teachings of Jesus and apply the metaphysics of what Jesus was truly teaching, the whole foundation of love. He was able to come from that. That's who he was. So to teach then these universal laws and principles on how to use that love, how to be that love, and then how to design our lives within the universal truths. That was what he was doing. But it gets mixed up sometimes when we start focusing so much on law. But if you read, what is one of the things he says about treatment? What makes treatment work? Love. We said that last week. That love is what causes treatment to be made manifest. It's not a fickle or moody or judgmental God. Oh, that was a good prayer. I'll manifest that one. Oh, that one wasn't so good. I'm going to ignore that one. Really? No, my God's bigger than that. My God's a lot bigger than that. It's about the love that is expressed and felt behind the prayer that causes the prayers to manifest in our life. The embodiment of it. That was the word that Holmes always used so much of, was the embodiment of it. We got to live it. It's like becoming proficient or professional. Back to the real estate thing. Once we get our license, we have this. We've passed the test. You know, it's like ministry. I passed the panel. I passed the test. I did the work. Now what? Right? Now what? How do I implement it? How do I use what I've learned to implement ministry, to minister to a community? So that's our work. So the key ingredient that does get overlooked, I think, sometimes in teaching these principles is this idea of understanding and maintaining a relationship to Spirit, to Source, making that the number one priority in our life. The number one priority in our life. When we think of love, particularly in the human realm, we sometimes think of a marriage or a union as a way of acknowledging that. Have you ever heard the term mystical marriage? You ever heard the term mystical marriage? Ernest Holmes talks about it in The Science of Mind. He says that the mystics have taught that as we enter into the one enters into and becomes us. It's the union, or more accurately, the reunion, right? Reunion of our soul with the soul of God and the unity of all life. He goes on to quote Tagore, I believe is how it's pronounced, who said, as an arrow is lost in its mark, it still remains an arrow. As the arrow is lost, buried in its mark, it's still an arrow. And so with our immersion in Spirit, Nirvana, God, Source, Presence, Essence, when we immerse in that, we remain individualized in that unity. We remain individualized in that unity. And I think this idea in The Science of Mind comes from Ernest Holmes' love of Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said when he discovered Emerson, it was like drinking water. And if you've never read the essays of Emerson, I highly recommend them. This one, I believe, comes from The Oversoul, which is one of his famous ones. And he says in it, the supreme critic on the errors of the past and the present, and the only prophet of that which must be, is that great nature in which we rest, as the earth lies in the soft arms of the atmosphere. The unity, that oversoul within which every man's particular being is contained and made one with all other. That common heart. That common heart. He's talking about our constant immersion in Spirit, isn't he? The common heart. The common heart, like the earth, lies soft in the arms of the atmosphere. Can't you just feel that? Our earth just in the atmosphere. We can't be separate. We can only separate ourselves in our mind and in our beliefs. So we need to reunion with our source, with the divine, with the essence, and with the presence. So the science of mind truly is this synthesis of law and love, isn't it? It's the idea of God is love and God is all that there is. Okay, that's wonderful. But I'm here in this physical form, on this physical plane, having this physical experience, and I am that substance in form. How do I play this game? What do I do? And that's where the universal laws and spiritual truths come in. The law of attraction works for everyone alike. It's simply our application of it. The law of correspondence works alike. The law of mental equivalence works alike. The law of gravity, centrifugal force, electricity. All of those are here as the operating system running in the background around us so that we can have this full and rich experience of life as we choose to express our own individualized creativity through it. Isn't that fun? I mean, isn't that fun to think that really, okay, you've given me this great set of rules that I get to learn, know, and understand and apply, and then I can go and apply them and create the life of my dreams. And you give me these cool dreams. Oh my gosh. Is this wonderful and exciting news? Maybe that's the good news that Jesus spoke of. Let me tell you about this. This is how this stuff works. Yeah. That's the good news. That's the good news. So as I have continued my study of the science of mind, it's more clear to me every day that it is truly a teaching of love. I go back through and I read a lot of the science of mind every year, every week, frankly, I mean, for my preparation of my talks. And as I continue to deepen into this and to delve into it, I can read those same passages, and I've got my original when I started marking up in 2000. And, my notes have progressed as I have. I have evolved. This teaching is one that never gets old. It continues to have deeper and deeper meaning as we continue to evolve and expand, and that's why it's lasted nearly 100 years already. And if you think about it, it's based on the foundation of those ancient philosophers from the 500 BCs, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, all those guys. It's based on all that going forward through the years and the eons. It's truth. It's truth. And you can use it. That's the cool thing. You can use it. So it is a clear teaching of love, and law just runs in the background. Just runs in the background. Love points the way. Law makes the way possible. So I invite you to use these ideas to experience your own reunion with Source, to plug into infinite love. Plug into infinite love. And deepen your relationship with the divine. And then see how this becomes your solid bedrock foundation for all prosperity and abundance in your life, in every area, in every aspect. So I want to look today at how we can apply some things in the science of mind to our life to be able to manifest a richer spiritual prosperity. So we're practicing our principles. Number 1, choose. We've been given this gift of choice. Choose. Spirit's always on. There's no power outage. There's no reboot. There's no downtime. Spirit's always on. Choose to tap in, to plug in. The indwelling presence is love. Choose to be a part of that. Take the time. Take the time. I had an interesting conversation with one of my vendors this week, someone I've been working with for over 20 years. And we're talking about the election. Seems to be on everybody's mine these days, talking about the election. And he said, yeah, I don't know who I'm going to vote for, so I've pretty much decided I'm not going to vote in the presidential piece of it. I'll vote for everybody else. I said, you're kidding. He said, no. I said, why not? And he goes, then I don't have to be responsible. Teaching moment, wasn't it? So, really? That's not true, is it? Because we're giving away our choice to someone else then. And we are responsible. We are responsible. And that applies to everything. A no choice is a choice. It's still a choice. Be it the election, be it in our lives, be in whatever. Everything is a choice for us. And that's one of the beautiful things that we have as human beings, is this ability to make choices and to make informed choices. So choose to tap in and plug into Spirit. And I might just throw out there, if you are concerned about your vote in this election, tap into Spirit. Check into that higher vision. See where the awareness is. Number 2, understanding. Be open to discovery and personal spiritual growth. Wow. It's that intellectual part, isn't it, of our 3 tiers, or 3 levels of growth. Be open to discovery. Study. Read the ancient sacred texts, not just science of mind, not just the Bible, not just the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita. Watch some TV programs. There's some good stuff out there on various faith traditions. Watch stuff on the internet, the YouTube. There's lots of stuff out there to educate us and expand our awareness on these universal truths that do flow through all faith traditions. I think it was Mark Twain that said, travel is the best cure for intolerance. Something like that. Because when we educate ourselves, we become aware of real people, don't we? And when we watch these programs or we read these sacred texts, we begin to learn and expand our consciousness and our awareness. We become places of understanding. We become places of understanding. And number 3 is stillness and contemplation. Give yourself the gift of wondering. Pondering. Isn't that a great word? Ponder. Ask the deep questions. What is God? Who am I? And listen to that still small voice for the answers that come to you, for the experience and the expression of the divine. But the way we do that is we need to be still. We need to slow down just for a moment to listen, to be present. It might be in nature. It might be in your home. It might be in your car. Turn off the radio and just drive and think, ponder. Who am I? What is my purpose? Strip away the career, strip away the responsibilities. What is my purpose? Why am I here? What is my purpose? I believe it was the psalmist that said, be still and know that I am God. It is in that stillness that we discover. So as you embody these 3 ideas, you open up to the greater wisdom. Your spiritual life will become richer, I promise. And you will begin to experience a more intimate connection with the divine, a reunion. We've all had class reunions. This one's much better, trust me. 3 ways to begin to experience prosperity in your spiritual life. 3 ways to begin to experience greater prosperity in your spiritual life. So that's our practicing the principles. And you remember I've been telling you that Ernest Holmes used to always challenge his students to prove these principles. Don't just trust him. So this month we've been doing that all month long with your Abundant October. And are you ready to experience more financial good circulating through your life?
Yes.
Yes. You're not very convincing. Yes! All right. So we've been playing with our money finders. We've been doing this since April when Frankie came to us with this brilliant idea of acknowledging in some way, paying attention to, we know that which we focus on expands in our life. So we started this money finders program of acknowledging each week the unexpected good that comes to us. I'm not talking about your paycheck or whatever form of regular income you may be getting. I'm talking about that stuff that's unexpected. Someone takes you to lunch, offers you tickets, gives you a gift, whatever it might be. Put a value on that. And then the way that I've been doing it is I write down all the days of the week, and then I put down each day that which has come to me. And it's really interesting when you focus on this stuff what starts to happen. Sunday I was tired when I got home, so I wasn't focusing much on it, and I have a big fat 0. Monday, I had things start to come to me. Tuesday, they got better. Wednesday got a little wonky. I was focused on study group, right? I wasn't focused on what I should have been. Thursday, I realized what was going on and blew the doors off. I got free tickets to an event, and then I got taken to dinner, a very nice dinner afterwards. It's like lovely. So lots of good stuff happening. If you remember the last 2 weeks, it's been in the $400 range. This week, it topped $522. So there you go. $52.25 is my 10% magic number of abundance contribution to the center. So I invite you to play this game. It's really a lot of fun. It's really a lot of fun. And I've got probably a stack of envelopes like this in the last 3 weeks from everyone. So I am congratulating you on the abundance that you're creating in your life and look forward to more of that coming our way. So these are on our website. There's probably some back there with the green envelopes. They're on the back. Okay, more green envelopes are back here to take one for this week. There's some more of these back there. They're also on our website. And we have our affirmation each and every day. I am prosperous, healthy, and happy. I recognize and accept abundance circulating in all areas of my life. All areas of my life. We'll be reporting back to you on November 6th, your successes. Fun stuff? Yeah. Yeah. All right, so I want to close out today. Is anybody familiar with The Voice Celestial? The Voice Celestial is the last book written by our Dr. Ernest Holmes, and he wrote it with his brother Fenwick. It is written in the style of an epic poem, like the Iliad or Milton's Paradise Lost. So it's written like that. There's 4 characters in it, and they have this conversation, and it really moves through the way we evolve as spiritual beings, from the focused on the me portion to the evolutionary portion of recognizing our oneness with the divine. And in it, oh dear. Oh, okay, you're just going to, there it is. Sorry. Whew. In it, there's a conversation between the 3 characters, and the presence, of course, is spirit. And this passage seems to fit very well with what we're talking about today, so I want to share it with you, and then we'll move into prayer. The presence says, "But knowing did not know, for each must make the journey to the center all alone. Another's torch will not dispel the dark. Nor can the traveler returned describe the solitude, the vastness, and the light of that mysterious realm wherein the soul is fused with all, yet individual. And all of the contradictions of his selves have found a synthesis, as though from each an essence of some good were merged with all." So join me as we go within and merge with the allness of the divine. That union, reunion of our soul into the infinite, into the divine, into the power and the presence of God itself. For God is all there is. There is nothing else but God, source, life, love, energy, the one, the allness. This loving and infinite presence. This great friend, this beloved, this confident, the all-knowing, that beautiful desire, that willingness, the strength, the light. So difficult to describe the beauty and the essence of this presence that is all around, in, through, and as everything. All that's ever been, is, or shall ever be. It is infinite in its expression, eternal in its beingness. And I am, we are of it. As each one of us individualized in it, just like that arrow lost in its target, yet individualized and expressing still in its own unique and varied way. That is us, and that is our relationship with this divine presence and this essence as we are immersed in it, in this love, in this joy, and the light, and the love that we have come here each individually to be, to express, to experience, to behold. We are that which it is. So from this place, it is so easy to speak the word of wholeness for each and every one of us here this day, as abundance and prosperity flows to and through us in our lives in each and every area, in our career and creativity, in our health. We have health abundantly revealed as us, in our relationships, both in our friendships, our relationship with ourself, and our relationship with the intimate ones. And I know that each of us is blessed beyond measure. And how grateful I am for this knowing. How grateful I am for this reunion with the divine, with this immersion into the one, lost forever in that love, lost in that beauty and in that light. How grateful I am for that. As I release this prayer into the action of law, into that operating system, just to simply form the calculations and do the work of it. Because it just simply acts. It just simply does. And it does according to our belief, according to my word. I speak it powerfully to now, accepting this manifestation is already done. And we anchor and affirm this truth together by proclaiming, and so it is.